Oh, hi there, my name's Beth and this is the story of how I renovated my 1904 Dutch sailing barge. This week, well, a sign painting fail, but ceiling painting success. So this week I decided, before the rains came too much, while we still have some nice weather, to try and see if I could paint the name onto the boat, which, well, let's have a look at that anyway. Well, that's taken quite a while. I don't know how long. I can tell you because I was listening to a radio program. 1 hour, 12 minutes and 12 seconds. So yeah, so it's taken me about an hour to draw this out. I've drawn it on quite thin paper. It's this this layout pad, and each sheet is really thin, and actually I use it for pen because it takes ink really well. It doesn't bleed very much, but it's really thin, and so it's quite cheap to buy. So I've used the inspiration for the typeface I'm using. It comes from this book, and this is Joby Carter's book. He's done with Scarlett Rickard. And it is signwriting tips, tricks and inspiration, and it is absolutely wonderful book. It is just full of like amazing signwriting stuff. So this is kind of what I've been doing, but it's not as good as that. I need to get much better, and I need a drawing board and stuff to do it anyway. But so it has in here a bunch of different sort of inspiration for lettering. So there's the Clarendon alphabet there. But my oh yeah, that's quite interesting. This is the ship alphabet, which is actually inspired by the ship matches. You might remember those. There is there's one that I can't find immediately. Oh yeah, there it is. So this is it's absolutely beautiful. Look at that, it's the Tuscan alphabet. And that's I think that's the typeface that's used on the Brighton Pleasure Beach or Brighton Pier, lettering, the light up lettering. It certainly looks a bit Tuscan anyway, but it's absolutely beautiful. But I think it's probably a bit well past my skill level. But I mean, everything it requires loads of skill. So I've chosen this kind of curved side alphabet, and it's called the it was called the casual alphabet, as according to the book. And also they call it hollow side, but Joby calls it curved side. And the reason being is because the sides curve in slightly, and it gives it a nice solidity, I think. So the kind of bases of the uprights are kind of a bit more solid, and it's a bit narrowed, a bit wasted. So that's quite nice. So I've used it really as well because it's got these kind of really lovely little flourishes. So the crossbars are kind of like a little flourish. And I think it looks really nice. So I've kind of done it roughly. Now I'm gonna try painting the front of my boat, and it might not work. It might just look horrible, and I might just paint over it. But the thing is, I can do that. I can paint over it. So the next thing I need to do is on this bit of paper, I've only got a really small one at the moment. This this wheel, and it's a wheel with loads of little teeth on it. It's called a pounce wheel, or pattern wheel sometimes as well. And so you just run it along the lines, and that perforates loads of tiny little holes into the paper. And then I can use this, which is a pounce pad, and then I can attach the paper to the hull of the boat, and then I can brush it with this. And this is chalk powder, which goes in there. The chalk powder is here. This pounce powder by Handover. They're the company in London. So yeah, so you rub it like that, and then you can take the pattern away, and you should have loads of tiny little dots in chalk, which you can then paint over and use that as a guide. Now, this is like at the absolute limit of my very basic skills. I've only been practicing for a short space of time. In fact, I've only been doing stuff like this, which is very rough kind of hand lettering. So not using a pattern, just doing it by hand. So, I don't know, I'm going to give it a go. Ideally, I would leave it for a longer period of time and get much better at it. But let's the best way to try something is to try it, and so yeah, I think I'm going to try and do that. I'm not sure whether I'm going to do it today though, because or I might. Oh, it's only 12:30 actually, so I might just have a bit of a change of scene, bit of a break, and then attack this. Yeah. So well, it's fun nevertheless. So I don't know. I've looked at it from further away, and I think this is the right position. Aside from anything else, I can paint it. Here, around the front, I couldn't paint it, but I think it just looks wrong around the front anyway. I tried it there; it's too far back. So I think this looks quite nice. So yeah, I think the only thing is it looks quite small when you're actually further away. However, I think these letters are very hard to see on the paper because it's just pencil on paper. So I'm just going to try and paint it and see what it looks like. Like I said, if it looks rubbish, I'll just paint over it. Yeah. But yeah, I'm going to get some lunch first. Right, well firstly I know this is the wrong way around to do it. So I've done the drop shadow first and then I'm going to do the lettering because I I'm not skilled enough to do the drop shadow afterwards, because you need to be so accurate. So I'm going to hide some of my shame with the white paint over the top. I've finished painting it anyway, but I realise now it is so hard. Sign painting is so difficult. but I think it looks, I'm quite pleased with it, even though it doesn't look very good. I'm quite pleased with my effort, at least. I think actually weirdly it looks better closer up than it does far away. But I think it's because the weight of the letters isn't right. So from a distance it looks a bit spidery and weird, but yeah, I mean, it is what it is. It's my very first attempt on an actual boat, and it's a very bumpy boat, so yeah, I mean, you know, it's now got the name on. She's got her name on the boat, and it is my very first attempt, as I say, so and I can just paint over it, so I'm going to leave it for now. There's still a little bit of the chalk dust around there, which I'll clean off when the paint's dry, but yeah, you know, I think it was a good experience. I enjoyed doing it. It's a lot of work, and but I think, yeah, I started to practice doing the sharp corners and stuff was really great. It's difficult. I mean, it's different from doing it on a bit of paper on the wall to have the you know, a kind of boat that's actually sort of slightly moving around and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's been a brilliant experience, but I'm not going to say it's been it looks amazing, and certainly doesn't look like a professional job, but it is the job that I can do, so I'm pleased with that. But yeah, somebody walked past actually as well earlier on and said that he said what font did he use, and I explained that I'd been inspired by the Curveside font, and I'd drawn it out on paper and then transferred it over, and he said, oh well, you could just print it out, find a font you like, print it out, and then get a stencil made and just spray paint it, which I could, but that's not really in the spirit of things, is it? But yeah, anyway. like I keep on saying to people, if it doesn't work out I can paint over it, and that's exactly what I'm doing. The harbour master suggested that I'd been over ambitious, and a passing neighbour said it would be a good idea to paint over it, so I was going to anyway, but yeah, anyway, so it's nice to have the support. Oh gosh. Anyway, but I've learnt a lot, and the most important thing is I'm going to improve the pattern that I'm going to use, and also I'm going to make the letters much bigger and probably use an off-white. I think white is a bit too stark, even though it's visible, so maybe, yeah, maybe, we'll see. Yes, so I'm just going to slap a bit of black paint over and be done with it, and then plan another one. And nobody would ever know. Well, except for you, of course, but we'll keep it quiet. Well, that was a bit of a sidetrack, and I should get on with things that are really important to get on with. So in the next couple of months, I need to have done the floors, which means taking the existing flooring up, scraping the underflooring, wire brushing it, rust treating it, painting it, putting new floors back down again. Then I can do the walls. Then I can start putting the wiring in, the electrical systems, and that means I can also commission the central heating system, but then I'll have to put all the radiators and hang those on the walls. And then I can fit the bathroom, which is really pressing now. I really need to get that sorted. So there's tons to do. But anyway, I think the thing that I need to do, like sort of now, is to paint the ceilings, at least with a primer. And you might have noticed it looked lovely when it went in. Actually, it was quite like an ash, really white wood, but it's already gone quite dark and orange, and it desperately needs some kind of some coating. So I'm going to do a little bit of filler with some cork in the little holes, and then we'll crack on with painting it. Oh. Say again? I just need to do something on the rudder, so...
Oh, okay.
So I need to borrow John's terrible dinghy. So thanks again for joining me this week. It's been a weird week actually. I've not been feeling very well. I've had a bit of migraine, so I had a kind of couple of days in bed really. And I think it's just because I've been so busy recently that I've kind of stopped, and I've started to feel a bit grim. But yeah, I had a couple of days of migraine and one day of feeling a bit gross, and then yeah, I feel much better now. So that's good. Sun is shining today, and we've got a bit more water in the basin, which is nice. The lock gate is still not fixed, but it's going to be fixed next week, we hope. But that also means that I'm not going to get into the yard next week for my mast. So we'll just have to speak to them. Things happen in their own time, and you just have to be patient. And it's not like it's a kind of crucial part of the project. It's just something I'd like to get resolved. It's kind of been hanging over me, and I'd rather the mast was standing over me rather than hanging over me. Is that even a joke? I don't know. So yeah, we'll try and get into the yard as quickly as possible, and we'll just play it by ear. But anyway, we've got stuff to do. We've got the kind of big job of the bilges to crack on with. So I'm going to start that next week. I think that's probably going to take a lot of the time really. I'm going to try and get that done as quickly as possible. Get all that rust treated and the bilge painted and all nice looking. Then I can order the flooring, the ply flooring, and then put that down. And if you remember, I'm also going to put the old flooring back down again, but in a slightly different sort of configuration. It's very thick and it's very heavy wood, so I'm kind of thinking maybe even splitting it across the width, if you like. And then I've got twice as much, and I can use that as some sort of flooring. Anyway, that's to come, all of that to come. But we do have some more guests in the guest book, and these are all people that have bought me a coffee from the link down below. So if you remember, I'd put in this guest book kind subscribers to the Tiller Queen YouTube channel who've donated to the project Barge, Hope of Velvet. So this week we have a few to catch up on, so apologies for that. So we have Carl Pegg. Carl, we met a little while ago as we brought his barge, his narrowboat, upriver. So Carl, thank you very much. Carl appears in there twice, which is very generous of you. Thank you, Carl. Mark, Tracy, and Jasper. I had a coffee from them, and they said thanks for the great vlogs. Thank you for watching. John, who is impressed with the job I'm doing in making the barge into my home. So thank you very much, John. Diana and John Southerin, and they love rewarding good behaviour, and apparently my behaviour is good enough to warrant a reward, so I'm very pleased about that. Thank you. From Jenna, who says love the videos. Thank you, Jenna. Carl, looking forward to meeting, which of course we have met now. And also Paula O, who's bought me a coffee with the link down below. Thanks very much. Your names are all in there, and this is going in with the ship's papers, with all the log and everything. So so even if I'm not on board at some point, I'm not leaving the boat. But if I'm at some point in the future I'm not on board, then this will stay with the boat, and it's now part of the boat's history. You and I together. So. Yeah, I think that's probably all I'm going to ramble on about this week, really. Yeah, as I say, next week we're going to kind of crack on with the floors, start doing that. It's a bit of a big job, so we'll just dive into it, really, and yeah, we'll see how things go. The idea, of course, is that I do the floors, and that's going to allow me to do the walls, the internal walls, and the cladding inside, which will also allow me to wire up all the electrics. Oh, I'll show you something. I'll show you something in a minute. But that'll allow me to wire up all the electrics, and then it will also allow me to put all the radiators in for the central heating system, which will allow me to wire up the central heating system because it needs an uninterruptible power supply, the inverter. So it needs that power constantly. If it doesn't like being switched off, like the bollards here trip all the time, and so it doesn't like that at all if it's middle of running. So yeah, so it needs all of that. I can put all the wiring in, put all the lights in, I can put all the pumps in, which means that I can start putting the bathroom together, and then I can put in a shower. I can put in my macerated toilet, which That might be a delay actually. There's a delay in everything at the moment. There's no stock in anything, but we can wait for that. We're not in a mad rush. So we can put in the toilet. I can do the shower, and then I can have a working bathroom. I also have a plan to put two waste tanks in. There was a waste tank on the starboard side, and that was pumped out via the starboard side. But I was going to put a pump out on the port side as well as the starboard side. But then I thought, well, actually, I'm just put 2 tanks in there. I don't have a huge amount of space for tanks, so we'll put the tanks under the gunnels, or under the decks at least. And then I've got two sort of 350 litre tanks, which is okay. Because also I'm going to set the boat up to collect the grey water as well, or collect the water from the sink and the shower or bath. Which means that it all goes in the tank. It doesn't have to go in the tank, but I'd rather be able to do that because I think in future we're going to have to stop putting, sink water into rivers. It's even if you're using environmentally friendly, biodegradable detergents, it still has an effect on marine life. For example, it kind of affects fishes, the kind of slime, if you like, on fish's skin if you're putting detergent in there. Anyway, I'm not going to ramble on about that. That's another tangent. However, it's better, I think, to get it pumped out, all of it, grey water and all, into the sewerage system, and then it has a chance to degrade before it ever touches the water source. Now, some of you might have heard, and those of you in the UK might have heard, that actually we're having a bit of a problem at the moment, that water companies are pumping sewage into marine environments. So we want to try and avoid that as well. Yeah, that's a whole nother. And they're not happy about it at all. Anyway, I definitely am going off at a tangent now. So I'll leave you there. Oh, actually, there is one thing I forgot. I'll show you this. So you might remember that the systems that I'm putting on board are a 24-volt system, and that's all of these lights and all of the pumps and everything, and the macerated toilet. And that wiring loom is all fitted already. It's all hanging out the ceiling, ready to be connected to stuff. But the other ends are just kind of like a sort of big mass of a big bundle of wires, and they are going to be connected into this. And I just received this from Paul at LoomTech, and this is my switch panel. So these are all of the switches that control the systems on board, and things like the nav lights here. So I've got an anchor light, I've got nav lights, and I've got a horn. So that will sound the horn, which will be on the front. But I'm also going to have a repeater switch on the tiller as well, so I can sound the horn from there. I've got all my interior lights here, like the saloon, the dinette, the galley, bathroom, passageway, the main cabin, guest cabin, and the aft cabin. And then I've got all my auxiliary lights. I'm putting in wiring for deck lights as well, which means that I can have lights up the mast, which will shine down onto the deck. Which will be useful for moving around there at night, and also my auxiliary, I'm wiring in a 24-volt socket on the deck outside for extra things, floodlight, searchlight, that kind of thing. I've got my cooker ignition, I've got my 24-volt fridge, and then all my pumps, the water pump itself that makes the pressure. I've got a shower, a galley, and a bathroom sink, and then the name of the boat is on there as well. So the reason why I've got this now and not the other stuff is that this is the thing that I'm going to fit in the cladding of the saloon here, so it's going to sit in the corner. So I need to make a little box, a little bit of a raised bezel, to put it in, and then and that will fit in nicely. So that'll sit there, and then all of the wiring I can start to connect up to here. So that's really nice. So yeah, I think that's definitely enough rambling for one week. So next week, yeah, we'll crack on with the jobs, and I hope wherever you are, you're safe and you're well. I hope it's less hot than it was here the last couple of weeks, but we've got some rain now. It's been raining for days, so out the frying pan and into the fire. Anyway, I hope you're well, and I'll see you next time.